You are listening to the BBNI podcast, journeys of faith, leadership and life.
Welcome to the BBNI podcast. I'm Bethany Smith, Engagement Officer and Programme Coordinator at BBNI. Our podcast series is about sharing journeys of faith, leadership and life. At BBNI, our object is to advance Christ's kingdom among children and young people. I'm really delighted to be here today with James McClements and Mark Beattie from the DofE Edinburgh Award. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Great.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for having us today.
Yes, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for coming on. Before we start our podcast, James, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, both in BB and outside of BB?
Sure. So I'm James McClements. I'm an officer in 1st Glastonbury Boys Brigade. I look after our junior section and help out a company section as well. And I've been in BB since I was an anchor boy and came right up through anchors, juniors, and then into company section. And while I was in company section, took part in my DofE Edinburgh Award and did bronze, silver and gold through BB. So I've been involved in BB and DofE for a very long time. And I've worked for the DofE Edinburgh Award for the last 13 years in a number of roles in the office. But I'm currently our Strategic Development Manager, which is a very long job title. And I'm not actually sure what I'm supposed to do sometimes, but okay. I look after our operations team. So Mark and a team of ops officers who support our licensed organisations right across Northern Ireland. Outside of the world of BB and DofE, I am the Clerk of Session in our church, so Glastonbury Presbyterian. And I've been an elder there for the last 10 years, and again came right up through church as a child and then into adulthood. And outside of church and BB and DofE, I like to travel a lot. So every slot of annual leave is a holiday booked at some point. And I suppose I like to travel rather than holiday. But yeah, that's a bit about me.
What's been your, just a wee side question, where's your favourite place you've ever travelled to?
Oh, a real hankering for New Zealand. So the few times I've been to New Zealand, the debate is whether to then emigrate to New Zealand when I come back. I have a real love for New Zealand.
Wow.
It's quite like Northern Ireland, but with better weather.
Okay.
But I don't think you could say anywhere has been a favourite place to go.
Okay.
Lots of places are interesting for their own right, but I suppose there's always that nice feeling when you get into your own bed and back to your own surroundings.
Yeah. Thank you. Mark, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that you grew up through BB, so can you tell us what your experience of that was and where it has led you today?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Just a wee bit of context, I'm the more mature member of the operations team. I've been working for DofE for about 5 years now, and I previously had worked for Danske Northern Bank for, let's just say, a number of years.
Yeah.
Probably more than you are. I've actually been alive. I'm married to my wife Brona for nearly 39 years, and I have two, in my mind, very beautiful young girls, young ladies, and I live in Belfast. And yes, DB has been part of my life in various guises for basically most of my life. I'm old enough to have been in Life Boys, let alone Anchor Boys and Junior Section. And I've had the privilege of having both my father, my uncle as BB captains in what was then the 88th Belfast, which is now 2nd Newton Abbey, which is White Abbey Presbyterian Church. And on top of that, in regards to BB, I've had my mum, my sister, my aunt, my other uncle, all being leaders in junior section and stuff like that over the years. So yeah, I know a lot about the organisation, and my uncle's a Queen's Award holder and a President's Award holder, as is my nephew. I'm not, but I was a staff sergeant for the year after I left company section, and I was in BB for probably about 15 years, all in all. Because I got in a year early because I had connections. And they had nobody else to mind me on a Tuesday night, so I had to go with them to parade night. So I mean, where has it led me? I mean, probably the two people that had the biggest influence on me growing up were my father, my late father, and his best friend, Robert McFetridge, who were both BB captains. And certainly in the early years, those two would have been the role models. And that's probably where most of my sort of moral and societal values have come from over those years. They were very much about caring for others, and they did a lot of pastoral work back in the 60s when it maybe wasn't the thing that it is now. So quite groundbreaking. They were both elders of the church. and both what I would call good God-loving men rather than God-fearing men.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've had a big influence as the organisation over those years.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mark. And now you get to look after Boys Brigade through Duke of Ed.
How lucky am I?
Speaking of Duke of Ed, every year the Duke of Edinburgh's award inspires hundreds and thousands of young people to develop skills, resilience and self-belief. Through Duke of Ed, they take on their own challenges, they follow their passions, make a difference to communities, and discover talents that they never knew they had. Us as BB and I were delighted to be a licensed organisation with the Duke of Edinburgh's award, with over 60 BB and I companies actually involved in delivering the award, which is fantastic. Can you both explain a little bit about what Duke of Ed is? What is it? What is the heart behind it?
Absolutely. So the Duke of Edinburgh's award was founded in 1956 by our late patron, His Royal Highness Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. And His Royal Highness was passionate about young people, and I think he was definitely ahead of his time in terms of the things that he was thinking about and doing back in 1956 when he founded the award. And he never took credit for coming up with the idea himself. The principal of the school that he had attended, Kurt Hahn, had the idea really at the outset from the school, Gordonston in Scotland, and it was based on a badge that they ran within the school.
Okay.
And the Duke of Edinburgh decided that this was something that would actually benefit young people right across the UK. And one of the stories that I love about the foundation of the award is actually Boys Brigade in Northern Ireland was part of the pilot at the very beginning of the programme.
Okay.
So Boys Brigade Northern Ireland has been with DofE right since the outset. And I think that's an enduring relationship that we see continue and really go from strength to strength. And we're delighted that BB has been an organisation involved in the award for such a long time. And certainly from my own experience doing DofE through BB, it just ties together so nicely. So it just goes hand in hand and fits together so well. And that relationship has been acknowledged countless times over the years. So back in 2014, I think it was, the Earl of Wessex, as he was then, came here to Newport to open the building and had that opportunity to see the move of BB here to Newport. So that has been just part of the outworking of that relationship over the years. It's fantastic to see so many boys come through the programme each year with BB. And the fact that you have 60 companies taking part is a huge testament to the value that Boys Brigade companies place on the relationship with DofE. And I suppose most people in Northern Ireland, I would imagine, are fairly familiar with the DofE programme, either through BB, GB, Scouts, Guides, those uniformed organisations that we're also familiar with, but also through the hundreds of schools who have taken part over the years and other youth groups and organisations. And the programme is a fantastic way for young people to develop themselves for life and work. And that's one of our taglines that we've used for a long time. But it really does kind of hold good. So young people take part in the programme and can begin in the school year in which they turn 14.
Yeah.
So our third year, or whatever we now call it in current language, which has completely left me.
Year 10, is
Year
it?
10, yep.
Yes,
So young
that
people
makes
can take part from that school year.
Okay.
And it's a non-competitive programme, so it's not a competition. It's about personal development and personal growth. Bronze, silver and gold, so progressive levels. Young people don't need to come in at bronze and proceed through silver and gold. They can join at silver or straight into gold as direct entrance. And young people take part in a range of activities, so they volunteer. And that can be in charity shops, it can be in a faith-based setting. And one of the really interesting things that we find in Northern Ireland is so many young people volunteer in a faith-based setting, be that in a BB company or a GB company, Sunday school, youth work within churches. It's a huge percentage of the volunteering that happens in Northern Ireland. And I suppose that's reflective of our youth provision in Northern Ireland generally, that the faith-based setting is such an influence on youth work in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And it's something that is DofE across the UK. It is a unique kind of feature in Northern Ireland that the volunteering within a faith-based setting is so popular. But I think it does go to show that, young people, if they're doing their volunteering in your anchor boys, most of them have come up through Anchor Boys and they know what they enjoyed out of it, so they
Yeah.
want to give a little bit back, which is great. So they volunteer, they take part in a physical activity, and that can be something they're doing already. So it could be after school rugby or football, Saturday morning football. It could be walking or running or swimming, all those kind of activities that you would think of as a physical. But it's also an opportunity for some young people to go and try something new or something that they haven't done before. And you see really wacky and random activities. Somebody one time had an inquiry about cup stacking, extreme cup stacking, and they ended up going to, I can't remember, it wasn't the Olympics, but it was some kind of championship thing for cup stacking. So there's some real, there's some real weird things that turn up. But actually, when you read about them and when you see what young people have been doing, some fantastic experiences and opportunities to go and do things overseas and get involved in really exciting kind of programs. They also learn a new skill or develop a skill that they're already doing. We see young people learning to play musical instruments, learning to drive, cook, garden. I would say the skill's probably the thing that they sometimes struggle to find an activity. And it's not until they sit down and look at the programme ideas list that they realise that actually they're probably doing something already that is a good skill section activity. I suppose maybe 10, 12 years ago you would have seen quite a lot of BB companies where they were providing the skills. So it might have been drill or scripture at BB on a BB night. And I suppose the challenge with that was quite often it was hard to justify an hour a week of those activities.
Yes, of
so
course.
I know if I tried to get our boys to march for an hour on a Wednesday evening, it wouldn't go down too well.
Yes.
So, you can get 15, 20 minutes out of an activity, but not an hour a week. So generally the skills are outside of, your company program. And the skill section really is, I think that's one that really kind of benefits young people in terms of stepping outside their comfort zone sometimes and going to do things.
Yeah, especially if they take on something new.
Yeah.
And something they've been doing.
Yeah.
We had a boy in BB and he was learning the piano, and we knew he was good because he would play the piano on a Wednesday night with the door closed, so we could hear him playing the piano in the church hall, but he would never have played it publicly. And a few years ago, the first year out of COVID, we said to him, do you want to play the piano at the parents' evening? So we didn't do a display, but we just had a prize given. He was like, well, if I have to. And we're like, well, you do. You have to. And he played that night. And actually, that was the first time he played publicly. I think he's playing on a Sunday morning at church now.
Yeah.
Did he play one
He
of
played
our
at
events
our,
at Stranmillis?
he did.
wow.
He came along to Stranmillis.
That's class.
Played at a reception one evening.
Okay.
So, a real opportunity kind of to develop himself. Actually, we see lots of young people with musical skills, especially where we have been able to use them for events. So we've had young people from Strathern playing in the castle at Hillsborough for royal receptions. We've had bagpipers from Campbell College. So, nice opportunities for young people to showcase their skills as well. And then the expedition section, which I think is the one thing that everybody thinks of as DofE. That's what we do. We do expeditions. And we do, but it's only a quarter of the
There's so much more to it.
There's so much more to it. And I think the brilliant thing within BB is your leader training for expeditions, your outdoor qualifications. You have a really good system in place that has been running for years. I have my level 1 and 2 BB outdoor qualification. I am thinking in the back of my head, I wonder is that due for renewal sometime soon? But, lots of those programs and training that you run for your leaders make sure that they are well trained and safe to take young people out in expeditions. And it's not something to be afraid of, but it's just really good training. So, and then you've got your residential at Gold, and I think that's again an opportunity to really push young people outside of their comfort zones. And again, within BB, you've some good opportunities to support the residential as well. So I think that gives a bit of a broad sense of what we are and what we do.
I can speak from a parental perspective as well, because both my daughters are Gold Award holders, and certainly, as James says, the volunteering piece was very much, they started off volunteering in hospital.
Okay.
And I was like a ward assistant, just helping patients with water, changing simple things like that, speaking to, telling guests where to our relatives, where the rooms were, all that sort of stuff. So they both did that, and then they both worked in the cancer focus shops on the Lisburn Road. So that meant it was very much giving back. So that was really useful. and they both ended up going into a medical career, so it must have had some impact on them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, certainly from a parental perspective, the heart of it was really about the discipline they learned for themselves, in that it was their award, and, you know, mummy or daddy or whoever weren't going to fill in the bits of paper for them, which maybe we did in the end at some stage, but generally it was, this is you. If you're committing to it, you need to do it, you need to see it through. So that sort of life skill, that discipline, that structure, you know, certainly stood them in good stead going forward, and hopefully that would be the same for anybody who goes through the award who owns it.
Yeah.
Because it is a personal thing.
Yeah.
As James says, it's not a competition with your best friend. Yeah. It's about setting your own goals and achieving them for yourself, not for anybody else. So certainly from a parental perspective, you know, I found it very, very rewarding for the girls. I mean, I'm talking about stepping outside your comfort zone. The youngest girl, she went to the residential at an international guide camp with 240 guides from around the world, and 2 from Northern Ireland.
Wow.
And, you know, literally that was it. People speaking different languages, different cultures, different backgrounds, and she had an absolute ball.
Yeah.
You know, very nervous about before she went. Came back absolutely buzzing. Still in touch with some of the girls in America that she met and stuff like that. So extremely worthwhile and worth putting that wee bit of effort into.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think even I had the opportunity to go to Buckingham last year to see our Gold Award holders, and actually the benefit that this award has on young people is just amazing. What they learn through that, the skills they gain. Again, as you say, that could take them into a job that they never even thought they would ever get the opportunity to do. So yeah, I think for me, even just watching the benefit of that whenever I was there, it was amazing.
Absolutely. And one of the things I love to see on like a presentation day, so you get, you know, all these young people together to hand out, or, you know, to celebrate the fact that they've achieved, be that a bronze, silver or gold award, depending where you go, if you're at Hillsborough Castle or Buckingham Palace, or a church hall somewhere for a bronze award. Seeing the young people and the benefit that they've got out of the programme, but also the range of young people taking part. So it's not, I suppose, 20 years ago, historically, perhaps people thought the award was very much for young people in a mainstream school. You know, we've got lots of young people taking part in special needs schools. We've got young people taking part in the secure estate,
In prisons, etc.
prisons, young people on probation, you know, young people taking part in expeditions in wheelchairs, young people doing physical activities that are a challenge for them because perhaps their own personal level of fitness is really low to start with, and, you know, it's a challenge for them to take part. But the purpose of the award, or one of our guiding principles, is the award's achievable by any young person, regardless of whatever barriers they may have or perceived barriers they may have. And we've done quite a lot of work post-COVID to make the expedition section a little bit more accessible for young people, the residential section more accessible, and really to make sure that even from a leader's point of view, you're not put off supporting a young person where you think this might be a little bit more of a challenge for them, because actually the programme is so inherently flexible, it allows people to make it work for them.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Thank you. So James, you mentioned your current BB leader in First Glassry, and obviously involved within Duke of Ed within your company as well as working there. How does your role in BB help you in your day job?
Surprisingly, quite a lot. So when I joined the team 13 years ago, it was in our business support team at the time, and we were doing lots of admin, supporting events, supporting award verification. So you came, I suppose, joining the team with some knowledge as a leader was helpful. But there was also lots of it where you think, oh, the leaders don't know like half of what goes on in the background in terms of the office to make all of this work. So at that time it was general kind of background information and knowledge, and it was good, it worked well. But I think over the years, as my role has changed in the office, I suppose that involvement has increased my ability to do the job well. So, you know, lots of things. So at the minute, there's some discussions going on around insurance, for example. And I suppose my knowledge of what we do as a church and as a BB company, the fact that we have our own insurance policy that you can sit and think this through from our point of view, and then you can roll that you can roll that into your work in the office in terms of the discussions or the meetings that you're having. But it also, that's one side of it, that whole administration of the award. But it also gives you that grounding in terms of the practicality of working with young people on the ground. We all know that ideally I would sit down, or any leader would sit down with your diary and go, we're going to do expeditions on this date and we're going to do training on this date, and that'll all be great. And then the text messages start from the parents. We're on holiday that day. My sister's granny's cousin's getting married, so we're going to see the wedding. And you've all of these, you've all of these complications.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the office, you sort of think the reality is, or the hope would be one thing, but we know that the reality is very different. You're supporting young people who have so many pulls on their time, family life, holidays, school work, sports clubs, BB, all of these different pools on their time. And we're expecting them from DofE point of view to log into eDofE, to upload evidence, to turn up for training, to go and volunteer, to give an hour a week, to potentially 3 different activities at the same time. Because if people are trying to fit it into a year, they're volunteering, they're doing a physical, they're doing a skill, potentially all at the same time, plus they're getting ready for expeditions, trying to find a residential, and they are also looking at their A-levels, and perhaps they're doing their Queen's badge at BB, all of these roles in their time. So I think it does give you a real sense of the frustrations that leaders feel, and we know that we ask a lot from our leaders as well. So we're asking leaders to verify awards or upload evidence or help young people to do that, to plan expeditions, to make sure that they are keeping their training up to date. So I suppose doing it myself, it gives me a sense of reality in terms of what we're asking people to do. And sometimes in a team meeting you do say, hang on, we're just expecting a wee bit too much of people at the minute.
Yeah.
We need to,
You're able to draw on that practical knowledge and apply
Yeah.
it across the whole spectrum of the organisations and think from a different perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just me and the team, we all have different, Mark and Julie can look at it from a parent's point of view and say, well, actually, as a parent, this is what was happening at this time of the year, so now it's not ideal to be expecting things.
Yeah.
Karen has been a volunteer for another licensed organisation. Kate, our director, she has been involved in the award as a volunteer, as mountain leader, lots of different areas as an expedition assessor. So, we all bring a little experience from somewhere different. And I suppose my experience of the voluntary sector has really helped over the last, lots of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that experience of, that's the whole point of being a team. Everybody brings their own experiences and things, and when everybody's got a different perspective, a different experience, they can draw upon maybe a situation that, that can really help within that.
Absolutely.
So Mark, you grew up going to BB.
Yep. Every Tuesday night.
Every Tuesday night. What is your most memorable experience of BB, and how has BB impacted you personally?
There's a lot of highlights, I would say, over those years. All sorts of things. Battalion parades, which were a big thing back when I was younger. Belfast City Centre would have closed down for the annual the parade. That's a long time, and then with the Troubles and stuff, that sort of died away because it was a bit of a challenge. But BB camps were definitely a highlight.
Yeah.
My first 3 camps were spent in Southport, in a church hall in Southport, which was absolutely fabulous. It's the first time I'd been away from home, etc., etc. And then we had a really dodgy camp one year in Cleethorpes, and which I think is on the Yorkshire coast somewhere.
Oh, right, okay.
It was just,
I've never heard of it.
I don't know. It was just, I wouldn't recommend going for a holiday. Let's just leave it at that. It may have changed, and my apologies to anybody from Cleethorpes who knows this much better. And then 76 we went to a camp in Interlaken in Switzerland, which was just fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant.
I think we have to up our standard.
Yeah, it was spectacular. I mean, it was a huge trip for us as boys, because I was about 16 or whatever at that stage. But what I loved about it was the friendship and camaraderie. In the early to mid 70s, we had a very, very small company section. I mean, like 14 people, 14 boys. It's just the way the demographics in the church were at that time. And, it was still, as I say, I've been around a while, so it was height of the troubles and stuff. So there was lots of reasons for young people not to come out and be in uniform, etc. But certainly with that squad, everybody was in the drill squad, everybody was in the PE team, everybody was in the football team, everybody when you did displayed was in everything.
Yeah.
So what you learnt was a real sense of teamwork and the fact that, we are only 14 or whatever it is, but we can still put it on display and we can still enter the drill competitions, we can still do all that.
Yeah.
And I think certainly through the rest of my banking career, that teamwork ethos and how to make a team work was something that I tried to apply in certain management roles as I went through. And now, coming into the team here, you bring that experience and knowledge as to the best way to get the most out of a team. Because, people are individuals. Some people like to work on their own. But I always find ultimately working together is a better option.
Of course.
Because you do get more done, you get more delivered. But I mean, I love the structure and discipline of BB. So changed times, I know, but when I went, you wore your school uniform.
Okay.
You had your brass belt shone up. You had your white lanyard whitened. You had your shoes polished, ready for inspection on the Tuesday night of parade. And that structure and routine has stayed with me. So mine's still going, get my black shoes out and polish them with the brushes my dad had, when I go out to wear them. So there's things like that stay with you over that period of time. And the other thing, really, from a BB perspective, was the values that are inherent in it and what you learn and what you absorb over those years. I try to apply them in everyday life. So that, when you're representing something, either the organisation like the BB or the Scouts, whatever happens to be, there should be a pride in that. But there should also be an awareness that you are an ambassador. And likewise, when you're out doing stuff for Duke of Ed, people say, well, that's the guy from Duke of Ed. Yeah. So, you are aware of that and you want to deliver the best that you can. And those values that I absorbed during my time in BB, certainly, and it's been a long time since I've been in BB, I still feel are very much part of me.
Yeah. And
the decisions that I make in my private life, my family life, and my work life. And that ethic of working as a team makes it a lot easier. So yeah, it's certainly I do talk a lot about BB to people who maybe have no interest in it, but hopefully they can understand the influence that it's had with you, and that's whether you have a deep faith or not. It's still the values that you were taught and that you hopefully apply in your daily life.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I found whenever you joined the team, it was a really good way for you and I to kind of form a relationship within the team because with that common bond, even though Mark went to BB before I was born,
before there was electricity.
but it was just that sense. There was something. There was a shared interest and a kind of. It was just something, and it has continued. It has been. It has been a part of our relationship within the team because we have that shared experience.
Yeah, and I think no matter who you speak to, they been to BB or their son's been to BB or their granda was at BB, and there's always that link. I think that's really nice. We have launched our new strategy recently about raising generations of Christ-like men, but actually when you talk to people and you see actually how many people went to BB, how many people have come through, it's just amazing to see that, James, you work every day with Duke of Ed. You also volunteer. As we discussed, volunteering can be challenging. As you said before, leaders are juggling additional demands and time on top of what they're doing outside of this. What motivates you to keep going?
So when I read this question, I thought, gosh, I haven't examined this really for a long time in my head.
Okay.
And I did take some time to think about it because I do think at times you get into the routine or almost the duty of having to do things. So BB on a Wednesday night is one of those things that you do every week because come September, that's BB starts and that's one of those things that you do. And sometimes you don't think about it at the time, it just becomes part of that routine of life. But I suppose the reason why I got into BB is probably the reason why I'm still there now as a leader. Yeah. So our BB captain Paul was really passionate and is really passionate about BB. I'm really passionate about the boys who come to BB and making sure that every week they get a really good grounding in their faith. And that was my experience at BB, a leader who was committed to the organisation, but more importantly, committed to making sure that there was that advancement of Christ's kingdom among boys. And he would love to cite the object on a regular basis, and it's one of those things that kind of stuck in your mind. Discipline, self-respect, and all that tends towards a true Christian manliness. They're things that they are important values for life. And I suppose whether you come from a faith background or not, those ideas of discipline and duty, there may be ideas that are a little bit alien in today's world, but I do think they still have a place.
Yeah.
And so that grounding I had in BB is probably the reason why I've continued to volunteer in BB. In a way, it's to give back because of the good experience I had growing up through BB. And it is a challenge, that there are Wednesday nights where it comes at 6 o'clock and you think, I have to get changed now and go to BB. And I have so many other things, like, the 50 million emails that need answered, or the, just the personal things that work gets in the way of that you quite like a Wednesday evening to do. But actually, when you turn up and, the boys run in through the door and they start into the evening, you get caught up in it and you think, actually, I enjoy this. There is a sense of enjoyment out of it. Sometimes there's a sense of frustration, when you've told them for the 43rd time not to be kicking each other or whatever the case may be. But there is that general sense of enjoyment out of it all. And I think as a volunteer, if you're not getting a sense of enjoyment out of something, it is maybe time to reassess why you're doing that activity. And I suppose my volunteering extends beyond BB in that it extends into the wider life of church as well. Yeah. So as an elder and as the clerk of session, there's a lot of admin heavy tasks. Yeah. And my day job's quite admin heavy as well. Now, I do like admin, like I do enjoy admin, like, give me an envelope to stuff and like I'm there. But yeah, there is a sense of enjoyment out of that as well. Yeah. And I suppose really the key motivation for it all has to come from, well, certainly in my case, it certainly comes from a sense of faith and a sense of wanting to pass that faith on to others. And that's why my volunteering is focused around BB and church, because I suppose I came to faith through BB, really. And church was an important part of that, but it was certainly through BB badge class and the minister coming along each week, and that opportunity, I suppose, to talk about things in a deeper sense that you can't really do on a Sunday morning. You can't pop your hand up and ask a question in the middle of the sermon. Well, certainly not.
You could try.
Certainly not.
You could give it a go.
You could give it a go. But BB gave you that opportunity to kind of explore your faith a wee bit more. And I've seen lots of boys over the years. So I would teach scripture on a Wednesday night. Alongside, we've been on a very long vacancy. We've just got a new minister after 5 years. So for the last 5 years, I've been doing all of the scripture. And it's actually really nice to see the boys starting to explore their faith as well. So you get that sense of, you can kind of see things coming full circle. Yeah. So there's kind of two sides to it. There's the faith-based side where it's important. And like certainly as a BB officer, you feel that each year of enrollment, you make that promise that you're going to, really commit to what you're doing. And then there's that sense of enjoyment you get out of it as well. And I suppose the time that we probably enjoy most with the boys is that DofE expedition where they are out there doing something outside their comfort zone. But actually, when they come and sit down, to make their tea at night and they chat away to you and you almost become part of the group for that short period of time. It's really nice to build those relationships and to find those boys stopping at your gate 10 years later just to have a chat or bumping into them in an airport. And there's a nice relationship there that has come from that.
Brilliant. And Mark, you see the impact of the Duke of Edinburgh's award and what that impact has on young people across the country and how it builds confidence as well. Do you have a story from a BB company where you've seen the impact of the award? And how would that inspire others to do Duke of Ed?
Well, I had we think about this one too, Bethany, and I couldn't, to be honest, put a specific BB story. But what I would say is related to another organisation that James has alluded to that I work with, which is Probation Board for Northern Ireland, and they cover Northern Ireland Prison Service and Youth Justice Agency. So it's relevant to young men in the Boys Brigade because it's about opportunity.
Okay.
So some of the young men and women who are undertaking the DofE Award through Probation Board and the other organisations come from very different circumstances to the majority of us in terms of the social background, etc. Family life, no impact of the church, and no spiritual guidance of any nature. When I see those young people at some of the award ceremonies I've been to in various settings, and the joy on parents and guardians' faces when they've maybe even got a section certificate or a certificate of achievement, it is unbelievably heartwarming, because parents have said, I can't get him to go to school, but he's doing this every week because it's something that he or she is really into. So what I would say to the young men in the Boys Brigade would be, you get an opportunity provided to you every parade night. For those of you who are those companies who deliver the award, take it, because you are getting something that lots of people will never get the opportunity to, and not just that, you'll get the support to deliver it from your officers in the company. So it's not directly about a specific inspirational story about a young person in the Boys Brigade, but it's just to highlight to the guys that the reality of it is you're in a very unique position.
Yeah.
You're in a position to avail of something. And it's not just Duke of Ed. Obviously, we would love it to be Duke of Ed, but it's just anything that the BB offers you on parade night, should it be the football or whatever it happens to be, just take it, because there are lots of young men in society who will never get those opportunities. So it's very much something about reach out, take it, because it'll be worth it. And be grateful, because the majority of us have plenty to be grateful for. It's just hard to see it sometimes.
Yeah.
But certainly I would say that's the thing from me to the young guys in any BB company. If you get the chance of anything that you do in there, grab it with both hands.
Thank you. If you've listened to the podcast before, we always ask our guests the same question as we're starting to finish off. Mark, we'll start with you. And I'm looking at James. Mark, we'll start with you. Can you give us one piece of advice that you wish you'd been given when you were younger?
Oh, there's so many bits of advice I wish I'd been given when I was younger. No, I think the key thing for me would be that it's important that you focus on things that you can control and not the things you can't control. You can get distracted by, I wonder how that's going to pan out. Well, look, the things in your control, you manage, do them to the best of your ability, and let somebody else manage the other bits, because the other part of that is about facing difficult decisions and situations. Don't put them off. Don't put it on the long finger, because it'll either get bigger, but 9 times out of 10, when you actually face it, it's not as bad as you think it was going to be. So, there'll be 2 bits would be, focus on the things you can control, let other people deal with the things that they can control, and, don't put off the big decisions, or I don't really want to phone them because I don't want that to happen, because 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen. Something good comes of it.
Yeah.
And enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy life. Life's there to be lived, and say the vast majority of us have plenty to be thankful for and grateful for.
Thank you. And James, one piece of advice.
So I had to really think about this as well. You don't make this easy for people coming to do your podcast. So really had to give this some thought.
Okay.
I suppose when I thought back to what I was like when I was 16, 17, 18, so coming to that end.
I can't remember.
You can't remember. It's too long ago. But, towards that end of secondary school, deciding what to do for the future, I suppose one of the things that I look back and slightly regret is that I probably paid too much attention to what other people thought about things rather than what I really wanted to do. And I suppose the one bit of advice I wish somebody had given me, and maybe they did and I just didn't listen at the time, was not to worry about other people, but a wee bit like Mark, focus on what you want and what you can do. You know in your own head what your best option is in terms of a career, in terms of further education, in terms of those opportunities that you're presented with in life. So I didn't do lots of travel when I was 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
You know, you hear of young people going out and doing, you know, interrailing and all those wonderful kind of things that I look back at now and think, why did I not go and do those things? And it was probably because I was too worried about what, you know, Granny would think at the time, or, you know, those kind of things. So I think less about other people and more about yourself, but not in a selfish way, but in a way to make the right decisions for you.
Thank you. James and Mark, thank you so much for coming on to the BBNI podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can find out more about the Duke of Edinburgh's award and all that they do on their website. Thank you to everybody who listens to the podcast, whether that is on your commute, whether that is when you're at home. Thank you. We look forward to you joining us on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the BBNI podcast. Subscribe to us on wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to joining with you next time.